They told me I was barren. My own family looked me in the eyes and called me worthless, defective, dry soil that would never bear fruit. To pay off my father's debts, they didn't just disown me. They sold me to the vampire night market like a piece of damaged meat. I thought my life was over. I thought I'd be drained and discarded before sunrise. But the monster who bought me didn't want to hurt me. He looked at me with hunger, yes, but also with something I'd never seen directed at me before, wonder. And 3 days later, the impossible happened. The girl who was sold as broken goods was carrying the heir to the most powerful vampire kingdom in the world. And my family, they were about to learn what happens when you sell a king's soulmate. The auction block was cold beneath my bare feet. I stood in nothing but a thin white shift, shivering in the underground chamber while hundreds of vampire eyes watched from the shadows. A number had been painted on my chest in black ink. 47. That's all I was now. Not a daughter, not a person, just Lot 47. Certified Baron, the auctioneer announced, his voice echoing off the stone walls. Diagnosed by 3 physicians, reproductively worthless, good only for feeding. Starting bid 50 silver. 50 silver, less than a horse. I looked toward the back of the chamber where my father stood counting his money. He didn't even glance at me. My stepmother Margot stood beside him, a cruel smile playing on her lips. For 5 years she'd made me drink her special tea every night. For my nerves, she'd said. For my health, I know now what was really in that tea. The bidding was sluggish. No one wanted a barren human. In this world, vampires prize fertility above all else. A girl who couldn't bear children was just a walking blood bag. 1 million, a dark voice called out. I froze. Baron Aldrich Vane. Everyone knew that name. A vampire warlord with a scar running down his face and a reputation for breaking his brides within a week. He stood in the front row, licking his lips, his eyes undressing me. I need a new toy. She looks fragile enough. 1 million going once, the auctioneer said. Going twice. I close my eyes. This is it. I'm going to die. 50 million. The silence that followed was absolute, so quiet I could hear my own terrified heartbeat echoing in my ears. The entire room turned toward the back of the chamber. A man was walking down the center aisle. No, not walking, gliding. The darkness seemed to bend around him, to worship him. He was impossibly tall. Silver hair fell past his shoulders like moonlight made solid. His face was carved from marble and shadow, cheekbones sharp enough to cut, lips full and cruel, and eyes, God, his eyes, they were violet, a piercing, impossible shade that swept over me and stopped my heart. The Vampire King, Caelan Thorne. Even the auctioneer looked terrified. Your Majesty, 50 million for the defective lot. Caelan didn't look at him. He walked straight to the stage, climbed the stairs, and stopped inches from me. He towered over me, his scent enveloping me like a shroud. Winter rain and cedarwood, and something darker underneath. Something that made heat bloom low in my belly despite the terror. He reached out. His gloved hand tilted my chin up. He didn't look at my body. He looked straight into my soul. She's not defective, Caelan said, his voice low but carrying to every corner of the silent room. She is priceless. He turned to the auctioneer. Wrap her in my coat. If anyone touches her skin before we leave, I will remove their hands. The carriage ride to his estate took 3 hours. 3 hours of torture. He sat across from me in perfect stillness, watching me with an intensity that made my skin prickle with awareness. He didn't blink, didn't breathe, didn't move, but his eyes moved over my face, my throat, lower. Every time his gaze dropped, heat flooded my body. My nipples tightened against the thin shift beneath his heavy coat. My thighs pressed together involuntarily. I should have been terrified. I was terrified. But beneath the fear, something else coiled low in my belly, something that responded to his predator stillness like prey that wanted to be caught. "You're not afraid of me," he said, breaking the silence. "I'm terrified. You don't smell afraid." His head tilted. Predatory, assessing. "You smell aroused." My face flamed. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Liar." The word was silk over steel. "Your heart is racing. Your skin is flushed. And your scent." He inhaled slowly. His eyes flickered, violet to crimson for just a heartbeat. "Your scent is making it very difficult to control myself." My breath stopped. "Why did you buy me?" Something flickered across his face. Pain or memory. "The last 3 blood slaves sent to me were assassins. I'm testing a theory." "What theory?" His eyes dropped to my throat, to the pulse that fluttered there like a trapped bird. "Whether you'll try to kill me too." Thornhaven Castle rose from the cliffs like a black crown against the gray sky. Stone towers clawed at the clouds. Dead gardens spread around the base, all thorns and bare branches. A servant showed me to chambers finer than anywhere I'd ever lived. Hot bath, roaring fire, clean clothes. That night, Mrs. Holloway, the head housekeeper, brought dinner and a warning. "Tomorrow at midnight, you'll be brought to the king's chambers to serve him." Her eyes were sad, but I've never seen him look at one the way he looked at you. "Be careful, girl." At midnight, they came for me. The king's chambers were in the highest tower. I climbed forever, legs burning, until I stood before a massive black door carved with thorns and roses. The guards left me there alone. I pushed open the door. The chamber was vast and dark, lit only by dying embers in the hearth. And there, in the center of an enormous bed, lay the Vampire King. On top of the covers, fully dressed in black silk, silver hair spread across the pillow, eyes closed, perfectly still. He looked dead. That was the unfair tragedy of vampires. They were monsters who possessed beauty that hurt to look at. I crept closer. Every instinct screamed at me to run. A letter opener on the desk, fire pokers by the hearth. Weapons everywhere. The last 3 had been assassins. Was this a test? Then I saw it. He was shivering, micro tremors running through his massive frame, and on his forehead, not sweat, blood, sweat seeping from his pores in crimson drops. He was sick. The Vampire King was dying. This was my chance. I could run, could grab a weapon, could end this. Another shiver racked his body. A sound escaped him, soft and pained. Before I could think, I moved. I grabbed the fur blanket from the foot of the bed and pulled it over him, tucked it around his shoulders. My fingers brushed his chest. Cold, so cold, like touching a corpse. The blood sweat was streaming down his temples. I found a cloth, dabbed his forehead. Gently, carefully, the way my grandmother used to when I was sick. It's okay, I whispered. The night is long, but the sun always comes back. That's what my grandmother used to say. I started to hum. An old lullaby, the melody she'd sung every night of my childhood. I wiped his brow, adjusted his blanket, hummed my grandmother's song to a monster. I didn't notice his eyes open, didn't notice him watching me with an expression of stunned, broken disbelief. Didn't notice anything until his hand shot out and grabbed my wrist. I gasped. His grip was iron. His eyes were wide open, not violet now, but completely black, dilated with something I couldn't name. What are you doing? His voice was barely human. You were cold. You were bleeding. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. I'll go. 300 years. He sat up slowly, still holding my wrist. The blanket fell away. His eyes never left my face. 300 years, and no one has touched me without fear or lust. Not once. My heart hammered against my ribs. You covered me with a blanket. You wiped the blood from my face. You sang to me like I was something worth saving. You were suffering, I whispered. I couldn't just watch you suffer. Something in his expression shattered. He released my wrist, turned away. His massive shoulders shook. Get out. Go back to your chambers. Now. I fled. But just before the door closed, I heard it. A sound I would never forget. The vampire king of Thornhaven was weeping. The next morning, Mrs. Holloway came to fetch me. The king wants you to meet someone. Prince Sauron's nursery was bright and colorful, full of toys that looked untouched, and in the center sat a small boy, 4 years old, silver hair like his father, midnight eyes, and a spine that curved sharply to the left, forcing his small body into a twisted position. He sat, propped against cushions, unable to hold himself upright. When he saw me, his eyes filled with fear. I dropped to my knees, made myself small. Hello, my name is Mira. I won't hurt you. The king stood in the doorway behind me. I could feel his presence like a weight against my back. He doesn't speak, Kaelin said quietly. Not since the last nurse called him a monster. My vision went red. Where is she now? Dead. Good. I turned back to Soren. Can I come closer? Slowly, trembling, he nodded. I sat beside him and told him a story my grandmother used to tell, about a prince who was different, whose body didn't work like others, but who had a heart so big and bright that everyone who met him felt warm inside. A tear slipped down Sauron's cheek. Then he reached out. His small hand found mine and squeezed. Behind me, the king made a choked, broken sound. Sauron was trying to get up, reaching for me with both hands. His curved spine made the movement painful. Without thinking, I lifted him. I positioned him instinctively, one hand supporting the curve of his back, fingers spread to distribute pressure, the other arm under his legs. My grandmother had taught me this, caring for my cousin who had the same condition. Sauron melted against my chest, completely limp with relief. A sigh escaped him. He pressed his face into my neck and clung to me like I was the only safe thing in the world. You know how to hold him. The king's voice cracked completely. The royal nurses studied for years. They never figured it out. How do you know? My cousin, she had the same condition. Kaelin crossed the room in 3 strides. He dropped to his knees in front of me, tears streaming down his pale face. He hasn't let anyone hold him in 2 years. He screams when the nurses try. Then he gathered us both into his arms, me and his son. and held on like he was drowning. The weeks that followed were torture, not because of cruelty, because of want. I moved into the nursery, spent my days with Sauron. The little prince bloomed under my care, started making sounds, small words, smiles. And every night, Kalen came. He would appear in the doorway and watch, those violet eyes tracking my every movement. I was constantly aware of him, the way he sat, perfectly still, the way his fingers gripped the armrests when I bent over Soren's crib. One night, Soren asleep in his room, Kalen stood by the window. His hands were clasped behind his back, his shoulders rigid. "You've done something to me," he said, not turning around. "I don't understand it. I haven't done anything. You have." He turned. The look on his face made my breath catch. Raw, hungry, barely controlled. "Every time I see you with him, every time you sing, every time you look at me with those eyes." He moved toward me, each step slow, deliberate, like he was fighting his own body. "I shouldn't want this." "Want what?" He stopped in front of me, so close I could feel the cold radiating from him, so close my pulse hammered in my throat. "You." The word was a growl. "I want you so badly I can barely think, and I haven't needed to think in 300 years. He moved closer. I could feel the cold radiating from him now, could smell that intoxicating scent of winter rain and cedarwood. My body responded without permission. Heat pooling low in my belly, my breath coming faster. His hand rose, hovered near my face. His fingers trembled. "Kalen." His name came out as a whisper. His fingers brushed my cheek, ice and fire. My eyes fluttered closed. A soft moan escaped my throat before I could stop it. The sound seemed to break something in him, his sharp intake of breath, his body going rigid against mine. "Your heart is racing." His voice was thick, rough. "I can hear it, can smell your blood rushing through your veins, can smell your wanting." "I know." His thumb traced my lower lip. I felt my knees buckle, felt heat pool between my thighs, slick and aching. I had to grip his arms to stay upright. "I could drain you right now." His fangs were extending. I could see them, sharp and white, glistening in the candlelight. "I could take everything. Your blood, your body, your life. And part of me, God help me, part of me wants to." "I know." "Then why aren't you running?" I opened my eyes, met his gaze, blazing red with hunger and want. "Because I don't want to run. I want to stay. I want you." His control cracked. He moved forward, crowding me against the wall. His body pressed against mine, cold and hard and overwhelming. I could feel every inch of him, could feel how much he wanted me pressing against my hip. His face lowered toward mine. I could taste his breath, cold and sweet. His mouth was an inch from mine, half an inch. I could feel the cold of his lips, the promise of them. A knock at the door. We sprang apart. His eyes were still red, still burning. His hands were shaking. I was shaking too. My whole body throbbed with frustrated want. "Your Majesty, Lady Seraphina has arrived. She demands an audience." He closed his eyes. His jaw clenched so hard I heard it crack. "This isn't over," he said roughly. "Whatever this is between us, it's not finished, not even close." Then he was gone, and I slumped against the wall, heart pounding, body aching, lips burning from a kiss that never happened. Lady Seraphina was beautiful like a blade is beautiful. Red hair, red lips, red eyes that swept over me with contempt. The king's new pet. She circled me slowly. The barren blood slave who thinks she can play nursemaid. I stood my ground. Don't call his son broken. Or what? She laughed, then her nail traced down my cheek. Sharp, drawing blood. The scent hit the air. Every vampire in the room went still. Enough! Kalen's voice cracked through the hall like thunder. He appeared at the foot of the stairs, eyes blazing red, fangs extended. You dare touch what's mine? Mine. The word hung in the air. He moved toward us. The crowd parted. This woman is under my protection. Touch her again, and I will tear out your throat. Seraphina curtsied and swept away, but not before shooting me a look of pure hatred. Kalen turned. His eyes dropped to the blood on my cheek. His nostrils flared. His pupils dilated. Your blood. His voice was strange, thick. It's different. He reached out, caught a drop on his thumb, put it in his mouth, and his eyes rolled back in his head. Solaris. Kalen paced his study while I sat on the couch, heart pounding. Your blood carries sunlight. It's been extinct for centuries. For most vampires, it's poison, burns them from the inside out. But not you. For the true king, the one whose bloodline goes back to the beginning, it's something else. He knelt before me, took my hands in his cold grip. Salvation. He showed me his arm, black veins crawling beneath the skin. Blood plague. I have months to live. Your blood could cure me, could make me a daywalker. Then take it. He stared at me. If your blood rejects me, if I'm not the true king, it will kill me. I trust you. Why? I bought you at auction. I own you because you wept when I showed you kindness, because you love your son, because when you look at me, I cupped his face, cold marble under my palms. You look at me like I'm the only thing keeping you alive. His control shattered. He kissed me like a drowning man gasps for air, deep, desperate, claiming, his cold lips against my warm ones, and the contrast made me moan into his mouth. His fangs scraped my bottom lip. I tasted copper. He groaned, a sound of pure, desperate hunger. Mine, the word rumbled through his chest. Yours. He lifted me, carried me to his bed, laid me down like I was precious. I need your blood, not much, just enough to know. I bared my throat. He stared at my pulse point. His eyes were black now, completely black with hunger. His whole body trembled. I could kill you. I could drain you dry. I've wanted to since the moment I first smelled you. I know. Why aren't you afraid? Because I want you too. I pulled him closer. All of you, even the monster. His fangs sank in. Pain, bright and sharp. I cried out. Then the pain transformed into something else. Pleasure crashing through me in waves. My back arched off the bed. My fingers dug into his shoulders hard enough to bruise. The sensation was overwhelming, terrifying, incredible, more intimate than anything I'd ever imagined. I could feel him drinking, feel my life pouring into him, feel the bond forming between us like a golden thread connecting my soul to his. He groaned against my throat. The sound vibrated through my whole body. His hands fisted in my hair, tilting my head back to give him better access. His hips pressed against mine, and I could feel how much he wanted me, hard and urgent against my thigh. I wrapped my legs around him, pulling him closer, needing more. Through the bond, I could feel everything. His centuries of loneliness dissolving, his terror of losing me, his overwhelming, terrifying love. I could feel him fighting to stop, fighting to control the hunger that demanded he drain me completely. And I could feel the moment he knew, absolutely knew, that he would die before he hurt me. Then something changed. He started to glow. Golden light poured from his skin, not soft and gentle, blazing, brilliant, the light of a sun that hadn't touched vampire flesh in millennia. The black veins on his arms burned away like shadows before dawn. The pallor of death was replaced by something alive, something powerful, something new. He pulled back, gasping. His eyes were no longer violet. They were gold, liquid gold, burning with power and love and wonder. It worked, his voice cracked. You saved me, Mira, you saved me. I pulled him down and kissed him, tasted my own blood on his lips, and didn't care. He kissed me back with 300 years of desperate wanting. The night became a blur of passion and discovery, his cold hands learning every inch of my warm skin, my fingers tracing the new golden light that seemed to glow beneath his flesh. We moved together like we'd been made for each other, because maybe we had been. We didn't leave his chambers until dawn. The next morning, I woke in his arms, his mold body wrapped around my warm one. The bite mark on my neck had healed into a silver scar, the mark of his house. He was awake, watching me. His hand rested on my stomach. Kaylin, what's wrong? Listen, he whispered. I didn't understand. Then I heard it, not with my ears. Through the bond, 2 heartbeats, mine strong and steady, and beneath it, faint as a butterfly's wing, something else, rapid, fluttering. That's impossible, I breathed. It's been 1 night. The Solaris blood, he said, his voice trembling, combined with my royal blood. Your body isn't just fertile, it's adaptive. He pressed the intercom. Eris, get in here, bring the ultrasound. Dr. Eris arrived in seconds. He waved a wand over my abdomen. A holographic projection appeared, a tiny glowing sac. Inside, a rapidly dividing cluster of cells, already forming a shape. By the ancients, Eris whispered. She's pregnant, already at 8 weeks development. I looked at the hologram, then at Kaylin. Tears filled my eyes. I'm not barren, the words came out as a sob. I'm not dry soil. I created life. Kaylin pulled me into a fierce embrace. You created a miracle, my love, an heir. Lady Seraphina came back with an army. Thousands of vampires surrounded the castle at midnight. But that wasn't the worst part. Standing at the front of the mob, flanked by lawyers and cameras, were my father and stepmother. We just want her back, Arthur Sterling wailed for the cameras. My daughter isn't well. She has delusions. This monster kidnapped her. Seraphina had orchestrated everything. She'd found my parents, paid them, forged documents claiming I was mentally incompetent. Now they were demanding custody, demanding the baby be placed under their guardianship. But I wasn't the scared girl they'd sold anymore. I demand a tribunal, I said, my voice carrying through the great hall. I am carrying the heir to the Thorn bloodline. By the laws of the ancients, I demand the right to face my accusers in the Hall of Judgment. The tribunal convened at midnight. The Hall of Judgment was carved from black obsidian, lit by bioluminescent moss that cast eerie green shadows. 3 elders sat on floating thrones high above us, their skin translucent, their eyes completely black. Their presence emitted a crushing pressure that made the air hard to breathe. I stood in a circle of white light, Across from me stood my father, sweating and pale, Margot nervously twisting a diamond ring on her finger, and Seraphina looking bored as if this were a tedious formality before her inevitable victory. "The girl is mentally incompetent," Seraphina announced, holding up forged medical documents. "She cannot consent to marriage. She cannot consent to breeding. The contract is void. The child she carries belongs to the Sterling estate, and since they are clearly unfit, I generously offer to raise the heir myself." My father stepped forward, squeezing out tears. "We just want what's best for her. She's sick. She's always been sick. We tried to protect her." I looked at him, at the man who had called me dry soil, who had counted his money while I was dragged away in chains. "Those documents are lies," I said, my voice steady despite my racing heart. "For 5 years, my stepmother poisoned me, wolf's bane and nightshade in my tea. It suppressed my hormones, masked my scent, made me appear barren when I was the opposite." Dr. Eris stepped forward with the toxicology report. The evidence was damning. Purchase orders for the poison, signed by Margot. Delivery receipts to Sterling Manor, dated monthly for 5 years. Margot's face went white. She did it to herself. She's crazy. She's always been crazy. "Silence." The chief elder's voice didn't come from his mouth. It echoed inside my skull. "The evidence is clear. You poisoned a life-bringer. This is a grave crime." But Seraphina just smiled. She wasn't worried. She had backup plans. "So the parents are abusive, regrettable, but irrelevant. The contract was signed under false pretenses. The marriage is void. The child belongs to the state, and I am the most qualified candidate to raise a royal heir." I reached into my pocket. My fingers closed around a crumpled piece of paper I'd kept hidden for 6 years. The paper that had never made sense until now. "This is a futures contract," I announced, holding it up. "Dated 6 years ago. An agreement between Arthur Sterling and Lady Seraphina in exchange for paying his gambling debts. My father agreed to sell his firstborn daughter for breeding rights upon her 18th birthday. The silence that followed was absolute. I turned to Seraphina. "You knew I was a Solaris 6 years ago. Your scouts tested me without my knowledge. You paid my father to poison me so no other vampire would smell my true scent. You were going to buy me cheap when the time came, but you got greedy. You let my father put me on the open market to drive up the price, thinking no one would bid on a barren girl. You didn't count on King Kalen." Seraphina's face twisted with rage. All pretense of civility vanished. "You stupid little broodmare. You think you've won? You think a piece of paper matters?" She drew a hidden silver dagger and lunged. Something ancient woke inside me. The Solaris blood, the sunlight in my veins, reacted to the threat against my unborn child. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I screamed, and a wave of pure golden energy exploded from my body. The shock wave hit Seraphina midair. She flew backward like she'd been struck by lightning. Her body smashed into the obsidian wall with a sickening crunch of bone. She slid to the floor, broken and gasping, the dagger clattering away. Silence. Then the chief elder stood, towering over the assembly. "The judgment has been rendered by the blood itself. Lady Seraphina, you have conspired to manipulate the royal bloodlines. You have poisoned a life-bringer. You have attempted murder in the Hall of Judgment. This is treason of the highest order." He turned to my parents, who were cowering on the floor. "Arthur and Margot Sterling, you sold your own flesh and blood. You poisoned a queen. You are stripped of your names, stripped of citizenship. You will serve the rest of your mortal lives in the bleak lands, feeding the starving. You will know hunger as you made her know pain. guards dragged them away. Arthur reached for me one last time, his face a mask of desperate, pathetic hope. Mercy, Isa, please. I'm your father. I watched him go. I am showing mercy. I'm letting you live. Kalen swept me into his arms, his body shaking with relief and pride. You saved yourself. You are magnificent. We saved each other. 1 year later, the nursery was filled with sunlight. I sat in a rocking chair, humming a lullaby. In my arms lay a baby with his father's raven hair and my golden flecked eyes. He was perfect. Kalen leaned against the doorframe, watching us. He walked over, kneeling beside the chair. He reached out a finger, and our son grabbed it, cooing softly. He looks like you, Kalen said. He has your temper. Soren toddled into the room, 5 years old now, walking with the special braces Dr. Eris had designed for him. He climbed into my lap carefully, leaning against me to look at his baby brother. Mama, he said softly, can I hold him? Mama. The words still made my heart crack open every time. Of course, sweetheart. Kalen helped position the baby in Soren's arms. The older boy looked down at his brother with fierce protectiveness. I'll keep him safe, Mama, I promise. I looked at my family, my husband, my sons, the life I'd built from the ashes of what they'd tried to destroy. They told me I was barren, worthless, broken. They sold me for 50 silver and thought they'd seen the last of me. But they were wrong. I was never broken. I was just waiting for the right king to see my worth. And now I am the Golden Queen of Thornhaven, mother of princes, mate to the most powerful vampire in the world. And my family, the ones who threw me away, they're rotting in the bleak lands while I sit on a throne. Funny how life works out. And that is the story of Mira, a girl who was sold as damaged goods and became the most powerful mother in the vampire kingdom. She proved that your worth isn't defined by your family or a medical diagnosis. It's defined by the strength of your spirit. The Sterlings sold a diamond for the price of coal, and in the end, they paid the ultimate price for their greed. But I want to ask you, if you were in her place, would you have shown kindness to the monster? Would you have covered him with a blanket and sung him to sleep? Or would you have run? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if you want more stories like this, make sure you subscribe, because the night is long, but the best stories are just beginning.